This is Scott Becker with the Becker Business Minute, the Becker Private Equity Podcast. The discussion today is when to hang it up. One of the things that we watch on a national level is these bigger-than-life characters, whether Tom Brady in sports, Donald Trump in politics, Bob Iger at Disney, who stepped back into the leadership role, Howard Schultz at Starbucks, who stepped back into the leadership role, is when it's time for you to hang it up. And this is true in sports, it's true in business, and so forth. And there's really multiple different factors. The two that I'll focus on is your own personal energy situation and focus situation. Do you have the energy and focus to keep going after this thing in the level and at the speed and at the talent level that you'd like to do so? Are you still passionate about it and energetic about it? That's sort of like you looking at the situation, and can you do this in the right way at the right level that it takes to really be successful? And you almost have to know what success looks like for yourself to know if you can bring that energy and passion and drive to it. The second factor is, have you created the bench and successors to take your place, to move forward, to take that next spot? Now, I know that people like Tom Brady don't really think about that. They don't really think about, do we have a next quarterback who could take over the team? It's a very one-person business. It's Bill Russell said it brilliantly in his documentary. I didn't really have friends. We're all sort of competing in business here. It was really a fascinating discussion. I view that very differently in business than I do in sports. But in business, if you're in a company and a leader, you have to measure your own passion and drive, plus have you developed successors that can take over. I've been extremely fortunate in two of the businesses I've been involved in with the McGuire Woods, where I served as the chair of the health department for nearly 14 years, magnificent successor ready to take over at a time that I no longer had the energy to do that job right, and Amber Walsh took over. At Becker's Healthcare, I was similarly fortunate to have Jessica Cole take over and just be a much better able to handle the job than I was of leading that firm. But it's a fascinating discussion and description of like this timing of where's your passion and energy versus who is behind you as successors that could do a better job than you. I was fortunate both Amber Walsh and Holly Buckley have done a better job than me in leading the McGuire Woods Healthcare team, and Jessica Cole's done a magnificent job, transformative job in leading Becker's Healthcare. This job, as I look at people that have so much ego tied into these things, as all of us do, whether it's Donald Trump, there might be a perfect successor to Donald Trump in Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis, but he's certainly not looking at it from that perspective of his own passion versus are the right successors in line. Certainly there's probably great successors to him, and I would argue much better successors to him, a whole different discussion, but not looking through that prism. Bob Iger, Howard Schultz, I think probably there's so much ego tied into some of these founders that they can't look at this discussion clearly. Is it time to sort of step back or not? And they probably have such influence that they don't have to step back, even though maybe they should, but we'll see how that plays out. Each one of those has stepped out and then stepped back in. Always fascinating to watch. You see the same thing, of course, in your own sports, and it's a whole different discussion as one starts to get to a spot where they no longer can perform at the level they'd like in their own recreational sports, which is really the motivation or instigation to this post to begin with, though it's a longer discussion, a whole different discussion of when you start to get beat down by kids twice your age, half your age, and twice as talented, it's probably just time to step down from that sport or at least off that team, which is a whole different discussion. In any event, if you listen to this all the way through and you have empathy for people like me that had to step down in my late 40s from playing ice hockey at a serious level when the kids joining our team were half my age and twice as good, or at certain levels of tennis or other sports where people are half my age and twice as good, please text me, 773-766-5322. And I hope there's something in this discussion of this mix of passion, talent, and successorship that leads one to think about, how do you look at succession? How do you look at when to step down? How do you look at moving into different roles and so forth? But text me, 773-766-5322. If you're the first person to text me, we'll send you a $50 Amazon gift certificate. Thank you so much for listening to the Becker Private Equity Podcast, the Becker Business Podcast. I hope we didn't tie too many things together in this quick discussion. Thank you very much for listening.